Hello and welcome to VR for Work. I'm recording today's episode on March 14th, 2020. I want you to know that because if it's 6 or 12 months from now and you're just watching this, it's probably time to go and update the information because things in the VR world are moving fast. My name is Rick. I'll be your host. I've worked in IT for almost 30 years and I see VR as the next big computing platform. I created VR for Work as a channel dedicated to exploring how VR can be used for consuming, creating, collaborating, educating, and being productive within VR. I believe VR has the potential to become the preferred platform, not just for gaming and entertainment, but for productivity, collaboration, and creation in the years to come. Now you might be thinking, well, what about AR? Isn't that really what everybody wants? Maybe, but AR has a long way to go before it breaks into consumer and business marketplaces. VR is here today and delivers on a lot of promises. Here at VR for Work, we'll be showing you products that exist now and can be used immediately within your VR headset. VR's here. And it's entering a stage of refinement in its life cycle that is going to allow for some immediate gains in the home and workplace environments. The current global pandemic crisis has accelerated efforts to find ways to continue school, work, meetings outside the confines of the 4 traditional physical walls of our buildings. Well, VR can help you manage that and do so much more. So join us as we take a look at some of the tools, the programs, and the platforms within VR, again, available today, that help you get all this done. VR for Work uses one of these platforms for the very recording you are watching now. I'm using a VR application called Spaces to present this material to you. I'm presenting all of this within my Oculus Quest headset connected to my laptop. Spaces imports an avatar I created to represent me and presents environments just like this one that you're seeing me in now, for me to move around in, to interact with the digital whiteboards, my desktops, the cameras, and allow me to record or participate in a video conference with virtual tools like the ones I've mentioned. And I think really bring people into the session, grab their attention, and present material and communicate to them in a way that's just short of magical. And there's an attention capturing element that exists with VR that addresses one of the challenges we have today in this new world of video conferences: keeping people engaged, keeping their attention. That's really what we're trying to do, communicate a message. Well, here's hoping that VR for Work can keep you interested and communicate our message out to you. So with that, I'm going to switch our cameras again and give you a view of my desktop, and I'm going to move across the stage with the magic of VR. You are kidding me. Okay. And I'm going to now present to you an application called VSpatial. Now, VSpatial is a VR application. You obviously use it within your headset, and it's a desktop emulator for PC and Mac. The software host runs on the remote system, in my case on my laptop off to the side here. And then I have a software host that's running on my Oculus Quest. The client and the host connect together in the cloud, and the host on the laptop serves up the applications to you in your head-mounted display. And then VSpatial provides an environment to help orient that material and allow you to manipulate it around you. You can also connect to other VSpatial users in the 2D and in the VR worlds. This enables you to hold meetings and share content with other VSpatial users. So with that, I'm going to start and talk through a video that I made of a session that I've done recently within VSpatial on my Oculus Quest. All right, so when you come into the environment, you're immediately greeted with this expansive 120, 140 degree view out of a window or a platform, if you will, onto this environment. And in my case, I had picked Monument Valley as one I like to work with when I'm working in VSpatial. Right above your head at 12 o'clock is the primary control panel. We'll be using this a lot to change things in the environment based on our needs or our desires at that moment. Okay, so I'll pan around a little bit. In the upper left-hand corner, there's a set of tool icons that again we'll be calling on in a little bit to bring things into our environment and manipulate it. There's also, off to the left, a panel that has a listing of the PCs that I can connect to that are running the host and which ones are available. The black square or rectangle in front of us is a tablet that again we'll manipulate in just a few minutes. My hands and my controllers show up as you see in front of me. And the first thing I'm going to do is up here on the control panel, you'll notice there's a set of icons along the top of that. And each of these icons controls a section of VSpatial that's floating out in front of you, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to uncheck the eye with the slash through it, the eyeball with the slash through it. And that's going to show us or give us an understanding of all the layers within VSpatial. So as I click that, what happens is you see at the very top a section in yellow called apps, right? And this is what we'll call our apps visor. Right under that are the control panels. Under that is an area called collaborate. Collaborate is when you're in meetings in VSpatial, those people who join you in that 3D space sit on that other side of the desk that's out in front of you. We also see that on our controllers now, all the buttons and the toggle switches are named to show you exactly what their function is. So we'll look around here a minute. We've got apps. We've got the control panels, right? There's 6 windows up there, the collaborate space, and then the main workspace that's directly in front of you where you'll place the windows that you're actively working in at that moment. Okay? And then we'll see that on the controllers, the ability to manipulate the environment is highlighted to us here. So with your trigger finger, you'll notice that extending out from the active controller, or the last one you've kind of clicked the trigger on, you have like a laser pointer. And whatever you're laser pointing at, when you want to select it, you'll pull the trigger. When you want to grab it and pull it towards you, you'll squeeze your handset, and under your, typically your middle finger, you'll click that button and it will grab a particular item and pull it towards you. On your left controller, the joystick rotates the work carousel around you. And you'll see an example of this in a few minutes. Or we can resize the carousel, pushing the joystick forward and backward. Okay. And then we toggle that button off to go to our generic view. All right, now I'm going to go over here to the remote connect window. You can see there's the 3 devices that I've connected to in the past. One of them is green, and I have a connect option. Now, anytime I might select a window, you'll notice that there is a gray menu bar that will come up underneath of it that gives me options for things that I can do with that window. In the particular case of the remote connect window, my only option will be to close it, and we'll close that out in a minute after we make our connection. So I see my one system online. I'm going to click connect. And as I do, we're going to pan up here into the apps visor. And if you watch right above the control panel in the apps visor, the apps that are open and running on my laptop at that moment show up for me to, again, grab and use here in the VSpatial workspace. So I'm going to point my right controller and I'm going to squeeze the handle, depressing that button under my middle finger, and I'm going to pull or grab and pull the web browser towards me. And then I'm going to let it go and drop it into the workspace in front of me. Now, you'll notice that the tablet has now lit up, and I have command and control based on the functions of that particular window. So in this case, I'm in a web browser. It lights it up as a keyboard, right? So now I have this keyboard. I have pointed at it with my left controller because I kind of want to move it out of the way. I've grabbed it, and then I'm going to float it over here to the left and kind of just drop it out of the way. So I have this window, and now I'm going through the motion of increasing its size by pushing my joystick forward. Let's grab another window. We'll set it there. Side quest. So it's floating there. I'm going to grab another window, and I'm going to put it in the workspace, Oculus app. And let's grab one more, and we're going to put it in the window too. Great. Look at these 5 windows now, and a full 360 degrees wrapping around me. I can rotate it side to side with my left joystick. I can make it grow or shrink, pushing it forward or backward with my left joystick. And you're not just limited to calling the window forward by the rotation, but up above these windows, you'll notice that there are several icons. And what I'm doing right here is if SideQuest had, the application had rotated all the way behind me and I didn't want to rotate through 5 or 6 windows, I can just click that icon and it's going to pull that window up in front of me. And again, I'll do the same thing for Edge, pulls it up in front of me. Okay, now we're going to go up here to the Tools menu and we're going to grab the Weather. And this is just one of the built-in tools VSpatial provides you. Find your area, kind of gives you that weather information, but we don't need it. So I've grabbed it. Again, I've extended my controller. The laser pointer is on that window. I squeeze my grip. It pulls the window out, and I'm going to drop it into the control visor up above my head here. That will keep updating periodically, and then it won't also take up a lot of real estate here in my work carousel. Okay, now with the Remote Connect panel, I don't need these anymore, so I'm going to actually just click the X and close that window out so I can get rid of that. So now I have a couple windows. I'm going to bring my web browser out front and select it. Now, you'll notice as I select the web browser window, I now have additional features down on that gray menu bar below the window. One of them is a font sizing control. So as I click through that, you'll notice the window gets real big, it gets medium, it gets smaller. So just in terms of the real estate or the font size that you want to deal with at that particular moment, you can command that off of that menu. I'm going to go back here a second and make sure we go to the next command. The 2 arrows pointing inward down here to the bar will actually take the window if you click that. It won't close it, but it just decreases the real estate it's taking up. I click on the window again to bring it back to full view. The next control is the 4 arrows pointing out, and this is a really neat feature within VSpatial. When I click that, the window goes full screen in front of me and everything else in VSpatial disappears. This is what they refer to as focus mode. So when I want to get, excuse me, when I want to get the other windows and the other environment out of my way and focus just on one thing, I can go take a particular window, go into focus mode, and just focus on that. And in this case here, I'm pulling up my Microsoft 365, Word, and start a new document. So again, I don't have any distractions from completing this particular task. Now, here is the Achilles heel for most VR productivity apps. and that is text input. VSpatial gives you a very nice keyboard on this tablet, but as you can tell, I'm hunting and pecking kind of one letter at a time. Now, with VSpatial, you can connect a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse to your headset, and actually, if you're a touch typer and you can type with the headset on, then you're golden. You're going to be able to be just as productive. You're going to be able to be more productive in this environment than just a single PC with a monitor or two. Okay. All right, let me back up here just a little bit. After we finish that, we can go out of focus mode by clicking the 4 inward arrows, and then we come back into our VSpatial desk space. Now, up here in the control panel, again, we have 3 items at the bottom of that control panel, one of them being contacts. If I click on the contacts window, it will bring up the people that I've had meetings with and are on my contact list. Now, a contact must be in VSpatial in order for you to work with them. So in this particular case, you have to have somebody with the VSpatial workstation on their desktop, or be in a headset and participating with you in the meeting. All right, the next item is programs. And to get to your programs that might not already be open, you'll just have a text entry field there and use your keyboard and start typing. In that particular case, I started typing Steam. It found Steam. I pointed and clicked. Steam dropped down into my workspace. The next item is Files, and this actually gives you full access to your file structure and on the laptop or desktop, as well as in your headset. So if you're interested in playing a music file or a video file, you can actually launch that from here and then drop it in the control panel so you can have that available to you to glance up at, but also all your work windows in front of you in your workspace. So that can be handy. Okay, let's see. So we're back here looking at our apps. We're looking at the control panel window and our windows in front of us. Now, let's go ahead and we're going to open up the VSpatial settings. So I'm going to drop that down here in front of us, and you can see that there's 5 settings options that they give you here. Audio, not much to speak of. I can't say I've found that I had to tweak anything in the VSpatial settings one way or another. The default just brought me in and I was able to get to work. One of the things you'll definitely, though, play with a little bit is the environments they give you. They give you 5 options to change that setting or that screen in front of you that you're looking out at. And as I've said, I kind of like the Monument Valley one, so I've stuck with that. But let's see, I think we're going to select another one here. Sure. So it's the Milky Way. Now, these icons all up here along the top of your main control panel are all clickable. And as you click through them, they will turn on and off all of these layers. So in the case I'm going to go through right now, I'm going to click the carousel layer. And what you'll see is as I click through that, it'll shrink it and then it will make it disappear. So I have kind of an unobstructed view. And I feel like this is good for those times where you might want to pause during the day, give something some thought, get stuff out of the way, just kind of stare out at this great scenery. And, and when you have the light bulb moment, you go back up, you toggle it back on, and there are all your windows in your carousel, right? So after that, we have graphics, we have input and controllers, and then privacy. Now, the privacy option comes in when we're talking about collaboration and whether you want other VSpatial users to be able to see you in the environment and to call you up. Again, you're working on a project, maybe you're in focus mode or you're giving something some deep thought. You can make yourself invisible so that no one can kind of call into your session while you're working. All right. And then last but not least, up in the tools menu, they gave us a little distraction in terms of arcade basketball. And if any of you have been in VR very long, you know it's a very frustrating experience to know how to throw something in VR because you have no weight behind it. But what I wanted to really call out is that what the VSpatial team did, and this is one of the functions of the tablet you have at your disposal, is it changes the context of the tablet based on the window that you're working with. So now the tablet allows me to kind of cheat a little bit, maybe move that basketball net a little bit closer, and hey, that did the trick, and I finally got a basket. All right, so that's kind of an overview of the vSpatial world and environment and how it works. Now I want to talk a little bit about the content that you'll find if you visit the vSpatial website and their vision for their product. So obviously they tout productivity because of the multiple monitors that you're able to get in the app canopy, the control visor, and the carousel. Obviously the 3D immersive setting. And they tout this cloud computing element, which you might connect these sessions in the cloud, but I really don't see cloud computing as a part of what the current offering gives you. Although I could imagine at some point that it would be great to do away with having to have the local PC, and eventually we would just connect to a vSpatial session in the cloud. They talk about collaboration, and again, I know I didn't get a chance to show it during this presentation. I will come back after I can schedule a couple of folks to jump into a vSpatial session with me and get that recorded. Then they have two things that I don't think we're seeing at all in the current iteration, and one of them is teaming. And the idea of teaming is if I'm here working in my particular carousel on a given day, and then I have somebody else in the company in Central Time working on their carousel, somebody on the West Coast in their carousel, maybe even somebody in Europe, we could all for a time be in the same workspace, but in our own carousel and desk. And then the idea of that collaboration piece comes in where I can pull up a contact and then talk to the guy in Europe, talk to the guy on the West Coast, and maybe even bring them all in together for a team meeting. And then presenting. So vSpatial has an idea, much like the environment I'm working with you at today, of a virtual auditorium where you can have auto-sized virtual rooms depending on the number of people that you have attending, and everybody still feels like they're in the front row seat. And then when there's a question and answer period, the folks having the question can teleport to the front of the room when they're speaking. And then there can be breakout sessions and private team meetings later. All right, so at VR for Work, we kind of try to follow a model for how we assess these various products, and you're seeing some of that here. And of course, this will probably grow and evolve as we get exposed to more and more of these types of applications. But this is my opinion, and in my mind, I'm looking at how does the application help me consume information? And I think vSpatial does a great job at this by giving me that ring of application windows around me in that carousel that are easily manipulated and called up and called out, and also having control panels above me where I can have up to 6 other windows with more static information that I can glance up at and ingest as I need. Retention, one of the things that I think vSpatial does really well is giving you that focus mode so that I can really intently concentrate on a particular window or piece of content at a time. So give it high marks for consumption and retention. Production, now this is where I have to call out the input mechanism issue. And again, if you're a touch typist, you don't have to look at your hands and you can type without looking at your keyboard. You'll be able to adapt to this really quick, and I think be productive within VR. I am not a touch typist. I have to look at my hands. So it kind of limits me in terms of how much I can really produce. Now, I have played around and I've talked to the vSpatial devs, and they are working presently on having a control that would allow you to bring up the Windows dictation feature while you're working in vSpatial. So I'm very anxious to try that. So hopefully we'll see that improve shortly. Efficiency, how fast can I create it? Again, they kind of go one with another. If they can give me voice recognition, I could probably dictate a whole lot faster than I could type, so that efficiency quotient would go way up. Flow. How well can I focus on a task and priorities? And again, I think being able to have the windows that you need at your forefront when you need them. And if you think of each window as a separate screen, I know I've had as many as 8 around me at a time, and I have never worked in an environment where I've been able to have 8 windows or 8 full applications up at a given point to be able to um, uh, read something, ingest information, be able to be productive, be able to communicate kind of all across one big pane of glass. So high marks there. UI ergonomics. Again, I like how VSpatial gives you the opportunity to feel like you're in this futuristic office space overlooking this grand viewing vista. And it really makes me feel very comfortable. I can be in my easy chair as well as I could be sitting at a desk while I'm working. So high marks there. Social and collaboration, we're going to have to come back to after we get a chance to take the VSpatial collaboration features through its paces. So more on that to come. All right. Well, that's it for us. I want to thank you for joining us. And if you've hung in there through the entire presentation, I very much appreciate it. If you want to reach out to us, give us feedback, you can reach us at VR for Work. That's VR for Work with no O at gmail.com. And again, thank you very much. Have a great day. Be well.